Hello.
Hello. Here we are. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well today. I've had a lot of curveballs thrown at me this week, but I am happy to be here. And I'm extra happy because I am joined by the wonderful, joyful person who just makes me smile when I just see her and makes me clap my hands and jump up and down when I hear her talking. So I am joined by the wonderful Hermie. So, Hermie, from the book Hermit, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and your channel?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's I've been looking forward to it all week. Um, so I'm Hermie from the book Hermit. I have a channel that mostly covers, well, I'm kind of in a bit of a transitional state at the moment. So I'm mostly hanging out in my Hermieville Discord. We do watch alongs and read alongs and all sorts of fun stuff. But I'm coming back big style soon because I'm going to be doing live sprints again and videos. I haven't been doing videos for a little while now, so I'm super rusty. But I've got so much fun stuff coming up, so thankfully, people have been really patient with me.
I understand. I am, people know with stuff that's going on with my mom and Parkinson's, I have not been filming as much either. So, excuse me, Hermie and I were both talking beforehand. We feel a little rusty, but we know you all here will give us a lot of grace. So I'm going to pop in to our comments and say hello to everyone. And before I do, I just want to say if you're catching us on the replay, thank you so much for watching the replay. We would love for you to put down in that comment section what you thought of the book if you read it. So welcome everyone watching on replay and welcome everyone here today who's gonna go through our little rusty show with us. Hello, Stuart. How are you? I'm so glad that you are here. Stuart has been pretty faithful member of my book club, and I appreciate that. Stuart has a wonderful channel too. So if you're not following Stuart, go and do that. Hello, Eleanor, another faithful follower here. We are excited to have you here today, Eleanor. I hope your day is going well. And we have Liz here, another faithful follower and a fellow Saturday Morning Momentum on Kat's Novel Adventures channel. If you haven't followed Kat, follow Kat. We're happy that Liz is here today. And then we have Stina from Skeleton Key, very faithful too. Appreciate you being here, Stina. Vision problems, listen and learn. Well, I hope those clear up for you, Stina. And I appreciate you listening and being here. That support means a lot to me, especially when you're not feeling quite well. Oh, thank you, Stuart. You have such a, Stuart's another presence on YouTube that just is very calming, very informative. He talks about books, but he also does projects like Woobles. I think I'm saying that right, like the little crochet. And they're so cute.
Hermie, I've just got into crochet. Yeah, I definitely need to check out Stuart's channel. I've seen Stuart around in Discord a little bit.
He's wonderful. Right. Hey, Isabel. Isabel's another faithful follower. Isabel joined me for one of my previous book club picks, and it's exciting. I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about Isabel and I might be, we might be working together on an upcoming project on her channel. So keep in mind, you can follow. What is it, Hermie?
It's exciting. Sorry. I'm very excited about this.
It is. And Isabel has a wonderful, wonderful YouTube channel too. She talks about books. She does a lot of journaling, and that makes me want to journal. But I'm kind of like hit and miss on journaling. I can't always, get it together. Some months I do really pretty journaling, and then I'll go for months and months without it. But every time I watch one of Isabel's journaling videos, I'm like, I think I can do this. So check out Isabel if you have not. So I think that is everyone in the comments so far. Like I said, I'm rusty. Sometimes I feel like I don't know what I'm doing when I'm live, and I'm trying my best, but y'all know me. If you've been following long enough, I will just do my best. You are so welcome, Isabel. Isabel is vibrant, joyful. There's just so many wonderful creators on BookTube, and I just want you to check all of them out. So now let me see if I can do that, and we'll go ahead and pull up our banners. I will try to remember to change the banner every time. Sometimes I don't.
I don't know what it is about banners. I'm not always good at remembering them too. So
it's like my brain when I have too many things to do. Like I'm trying to make sure I'm like looking at the camera, I'm checking the comments, checking my notes, just I have some mental stuff. So neurodivergency, that doesn't always make it easy for me, but I think a lot of people here understand.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so Hermie, are you ready for the book synopsis? Do you want to tell us what it's about? Blood on Her Tongue. Did I even say this is Blood on Her Tongue by Johanna Van Veen? Yay!
So I've written a little overview for us today. So it's a gothic horror that follows twins Lucy and Sarah. Set in the Netherlands in 1887, Lucy is called to her sister's side to care for her so that Sarah's mental illness isn't made public. This little shorty, although it is a slow dread building experience, also packs a lot in, including some body horror, affairs, queerness, and what makes us us. More importantly, at what point we stop being us and asks us the question, how far would you go for family? Content warnings and triggers would include child death, mental illness, and bog bodies, and there's probably more. They were just the first ones to come to mind. So yeah, that's like a very quick little synopsis, and really
excellent
cracks the surface very slightly.
That was an excellent synopsis, and I also appreciate you giving the content warnings, because there are, quite a few in this book, which most of the time you can't expect with a gothic novel. You're going to have, some of those things for sure, but it's important to, I feel like content warnings are absolutely necessary. So thank you for that. So we'll move on now to the author bio. So I want to talk a little bit about Johanna van Veen. And really what I'm doing is just kind of reading the back of the book, her own bio. So Johanna grew up in the Netherlands together with two sisters. The three of them are triplets, even though her sisters are identical to each other and she is not. So triplets with two identicals, and then there's Johanna. So I feel like that's important to know going into this story. Not only does she have sisters, but she's a triplet who's not identical to the other two. She received a master's in English literature with a specialization in early modern literature, as well as a master's in book and digital media with a specialization in early modern book history. Both of these she received at Leiden University. Kudos to her, because that's a lot of work. I've done the master's in English literature, but I cannot imagine getting two masters. She currently works as an editor for a company that sends, she works as an editor for a company. Some of her humor's in here she sends letters and reports out every day. And then she says that she really enjoys spending time with her wife, her sisters, and her dog. And I want to briefly just talk about her other books. So her debut novel, which I read in 2024, and it became, I think it was my number 3 book of the year. It was definitely my top 5. My Darling Dreadful Thing. And I don't know if you've read this one, but this cover, whoever designs her covers, can I just say, yes, I need to find out. I will try to find that out. Okay, wait. Cover design by Katie Kimowicz for My Darling Dreadful Thing, and cover design by Erin Fitzsimmons for Blood on Her Tongue. I try to do that, give credit to the cover designers, because I feel like that's something I often forget. So I wanted to do that because those covers, chef's kiss, can't beat it.
100%.
And she also has a middle grade novel that came out in August of this year. I wrote the title down. Let's make sure I get it right. The Witch of Hagstone Hill. And it is going to be the first in a series. So I'm interested in picking that one up. I don't read a lot of middle grade, but I do teach literature to middle and high schoolers, and sometimes it includes horror and gothic. So I am interested in checking that out. So if anybody's read The Witch of Hagstone Hall, I would love to know. Have you read that one, Hermie?
Not yet. No, it's on my radar, but I haven't got it yet. I'm trying desperately to. This shelf here is all my unreads. Everything else is read, but these are my unreads, and I don't like having that many shelves worth of unread. So I'm trying to get them.
Yes, I'm going to attempt that in 2026 because I'm always buying more books. But that's for another day. I'll talk about that. So we'll go ahead now, and I'd like to know everybody's ratings. Hermie, did you give this a star rating? Do you do star ratings?
I do. I call them cringe ratings.
Yes.
But they're the same thing effectively. So I gave this 5 stars the first time I read it, and I gave it 5 stars again. If I did more than 5 stars, I would have the second time, because I felt like I got the first time I read it, it was in a bit of a hurry because I was lucky enough to have an arc of it. So I was reading it in a hurry to get the main points down, and as much as I loved it the first time, this time I really took my time with it. I tabbed it a little bit, and I just would have given it even more rating if I could.
I love to hear it. I almost gave it 5 stars. I ended up giving it 4.5. And I feel like that may come out when we talk about it, or I may even bump it up to 5. We'll just see what happens. I also have to admit, I feel like I was comparing it, even though I tried not to, comparing it to My Darling Dreadful Thing, which was absolute 5 stars. Did you read My Darling Dreadful Thing?
I have, but it was quite a while ago, and I just read it on audio. So I tend not to remember as much when if I immersive read, I tend to remember a little bit better.
Yeah. And I did. I loved it. 4.5. I don't know if I felt, I'll talk a little bit now. Some of it, I felt like the ending was a little bit rushed. And I would have liked things to slow down a bit because it was like back to back to back. But I think on the surface, at least for now, that's the only issue I had with that one. So let me check what everybody else thought. Going to be around 3.5. Latter part was thrilling, raised it to a 4. So a little, maybe a different kind of response to the back to back there with Stuart. Let's see, a 4.
Nice.
Isabel, 4. Yeah, I've seen most people like it. There was one person who is another like faithful follower to my channel and book club and on Instagram who did not care for it. I won't give her name, but she gave it a 2.5 because she just didn't. I think her review talked about it being slow and kind of dull and not enough payoff. And I can understand that for sure. It doesn't. Certainly if somebody doesn't like the book I pick, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, because everybody's different. Everybody has different feelings and reactions. So I just wanted to mention too, that there was someone, who didn't enjoy it. And I think I can't remember what exactly the overall Goodreads rating is, but it was maybe a 3.7. So I feel like it's hitting in the middle for for some people, for sure. So now I will give a little bit of literary and historic context, just to get us kind of going, understanding a little bit about what's happening. So first, I want to talk a little bit about gender roles in the Netherlands in 1887. Very similar to what, if you were with me for the last book club pick that we did, Crypt of the Moon Spotter, which was set in Victorian England, because Netherlands was also, part of that region. Very much that standards for women being confined to that domestic sphere as wives and mothers. You were all expected to marry a man and have children. Angel in the House, Coventry Patmore's one. Men, of course, then dominated the public sphere, the political sphere. This divide was especially solidified because in 1887, which is, as Hermie told us in the synopsis, the setting, time period, in 1887, there was a constitutional amendment that was done in the Netherlands that explicitly restricted voting rights to males. There was individual, was like the name individual, or the term individual was in the Constitution, and then they changed it to males, which in turn sparked the women's suffrage movement. And it was headed up in the Netherlands by a woman by the name of Aletta Jacobs. So I did just want to mention her here. So the other thing, and we'll kind of talk about that a little bit more later, because one of our topics is going to be to talk about the treatment of the mentally ill. So I'll save that part of the literary and historical context for when we get to that point. But I just kind of wanted to just remind everybody of the strict roles that were expected for women back at this time. And we definitely see that Sarah is pushing back against that, as is Lucy, because Lucy's not married, doesn't have children. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go. Does anybody have any questions or any comments about literary or historical context?
No, I don't personally, but I did find in preparation for this, I did look up some interviews with Johanna van Veen. My mouth does not want to say that name for some reason. And I really appreciated her talking about why she chose this time period and things like that. So I would recommend, it's more of a recommendation to just search her up on YouTube, because there's some fun interviews with her directly. And now I'm like, I wonder if I can just slide into her DMs and see if she will come on with me too, because I have so many questions.
I think she's just wonderful. I adore her. Brilliant. And can write the Gothic like not many people can write in this day and time.
No.
Oh, a 5-star from Melissa. Yay! Okay. I'm so happy to hear it. I'm glad most of us enjoyed it. So now here's the heads up. If you haven't read it yet, then we're going into spoiler territory. So you might want to stop here and then read it and then come back. Or if you don't care about spoilers, then obviously, stay on, get spoiled. We'll have some fun. All right. So now the first thing I want to talk about is the characters. And so the first character, and I don't have the individual characters on banners. I just, I would have to change that every time I did this. And unless y'all really say, please do that, then I'm not going to do it. But if you really want me to, I will. It'll just cost you a little bit. Okay. So first of all, the main character, Lucy, obviously we want to talk about her first. So Hermie, what were your thoughts about Lucy?
Okay, so I love Lucy. Um, pun intended. I thought she was a great character. I really loved how she was written, in terms of you feel like you know her really quickly, but then there are things with like that come up over the book that sort of pop up and sort of surprise you about her, which I really like. I'm trying to think of an example of that now. I think ultimately, and this is a big spoiler really, what the decisions she makes near the end really surprised me, because in the beginning I guess that wasn't a spoiler because of the way I phrased it, but anyway, yeah, so in the beginning I feel like she was very much on the husband and friend doctor side, and I liked that by the end that she wasn't, but it felt natural. It felt like a natural progression, that she was initially siding with the males because, you know, that's what you're supposed to do, and all of that stuff, and she trusted that they had her sister's good intentions at heart. I think once she realized that was not the case, that's when it changed. But yeah, I really enjoyed her arc throughout the story.
I did too. I agree with you. It felt like we really knew her, you know, going back to her childhood, talking about how she often felt in terms of her relationship with Sarah, that she felt overshadowed. And I also appreciated that we got a very real character in her. She was not what is it called? A Mary Sue or something that's supposed to be like this perfect little, you know, character that's not relatable. She was relatable, including, you know, here's another spoiler, her affair with Michael, with her twin sister's husband. And I think it was Eleanor I think Eleanor, if you're here, you can confirm it, but I think it was Eleanor in Discord who said, "Woo, I wasn't expecting the spice."
No, I wasn't. In fact, both times I'd actually forgotten that between reading it the first time and the second time. So like the way I put my book down, just like, what?
Right. And I mean, Johanna van Veen, she really didn't like hold anything back, because before we even see the affair part between Lucy and Michael, Lucy is thinking about being with someone who's kind of threatening in a way and mysterious, and she is taking matters into her own hands, so to speak. And then it talks about she is thinking that she should be taken that way, and it should be by her sister's husband. So I was like, whoa, what's going on? But we also get the flip side of that as we keep reading, because then we find out that Lucy is the first one who met Michael, and Lucy was in love with Michael, but he married her twin sister, Sarah, and Sarah knew Lucy loved him. And that kind of comes into play later in the novel too. They get that resolution. But I liked Lucy too, because her authenticity, and like you said, her art from kind of doing what's expected, because that's what a lot of women did and still do, instead of pushing back, because pushing back can be scary.
Yeah, definitely.
I liked her a lot. Now we'll talk about Sarah / not Sarah. What do you think of Sarah, not Sarah?
I loved the not Sarah thing. I felt like that was really that it was just perfection. Just going from Sarah to not Sarah. I really actually connected with that on a personal level as well, because I have some mental health stuff, and there are times where I don't feel like myself. And I really I connected with that, almost seeing myself from a different perspective almost. So I thought that was really cleverly done. And again, I felt like we could have known Sarah more. However, I think not knowing her as well as Lucy worked really well for this. But I think I've seen in a couple of reviews people saying that they would have liked to have known Sarah as Sarah more. But I don't know, I kind of like that. Other than the being obsessed with dead bodies and wanting to learn about that side of things, I think we don't really learn a whole lot about Sarah, which leads to us knowing not Sarah better, right. I think, because of that. And I think that was really clever in that, because to me the whole thing is just kind of looking at what makes us us, and at what point does us stop being us and we become something else. And I think that not knowing makes us fill in the gaps a little bit more, and makes us think about it a little bit more. And I really enjoyed that.
I did too. And I think one of the things that we do get to find out about Sarah before she became not Sarah was her research ability, her intellectualism, her intelligence. And there's even that part in the book where Michael doesn't want to keep working with, with Sarah, his wife, because she's smarter than he is. And so that's a threat still to a lot of men, but in that time period, that would definitely have been a threat, because what is she doing? Her place is supposed to be, here at home having children, and how come she's smarter than I am? So it's like even Sarah before she became not Sarah was a threat to patriarchy. And I think when she became not Sarah, it intensified that, which I like to see someone fighting the patriarchy. So let me,
definitely. And we still only mostly see it through other people's eyes as well, which I found really interesting. We don't get a lot from her perspective, which I thought was really an interesting choice, that I happen to enjoy, but I can see that not being as enjoyable as well for some people,
Some people, like you said, who would have wanted more background. So Eleanor wasn't the one who said that about Spice. Now, who said that? Somebody said it. It reminded me of Fate Lock on Lost. I watched a few episodes. I never finished Lost, but if you have, then you'll get that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Stuart rooted for Lucy. Early Sarah is more he would like to see Stuart agrees with seeing more about Lucy. So another one of the things though that I did want to talk a bit about, and again, major content warning for child loss. When Sarah and Michael's daughter Lucille died, Sarah was holding on to her for days and days after the death. So they deemed that, of course, being insane, their words, mad. But I'm also processing that in terms of grief, whether it's figurative, like her literally holding on to the baby. But if you think about it, or that's literal, really holding on to the baby. But if you think about it in figurative terms, grief makes people uncomfortable anyway, and especially if someone is dealing with the loss of a child. And I feel like that could also be a way that they were treating someone who is expressing natural reactions to such a painful, horrible loss and acting like that's some sort of mental illness. That is something that really bothered me too, the way that she was treated after that. So I just wanted to bring the pain that Sarah experienced, and possibly her already being made to feel as if she was not, quite right. Something was wrong with her, maybe made her more susceptible or open to the not Sarah coming into her, that bog body having that influence. And she was also so very obsessed with that bog body. Like, it was disturbing her. It couldn't get, she couldn't get it out of her mind. And we'll talk a little bit more about the bog when we get to symbolism, but that definitely to me represents the Gothic and the idea of trying to put something in the past, but it's always going to come back to haunt you. They were trying to hide things in the bog, but you couldn't get away from it. And so I think a lot of that too played with her obsession with death, the loss of her child, definitely. And then that feeling that there was something, trying to speak to her, something in the bog, something telling a story. And then we do get the story of the bog body. And we'll talk a little bit more about that too when we get to like vampirism or changelings or revenants, however you want to term what happens. I'm gonna go on to the next character because I feel like I could get deep in the weeds here talking about Sarah, not Sarah. So I don't know if I'm saying this right. Katja. I know that's like, sometimes Lucy would say Sarah with the J-E on the end, and I meant to look it up and I didn't, but I think that's like a term of endearment.
Yeah, I looked that up as well. But I had the audio because I immersive read it. So yeah, I know I'm not saying the names how they're supposed to be said. But I think I would say Katya, maybe.
Katya.
Maybe we would say Katya here. I don't know. Sorry, I overthink these things.
Me too. So, what did you think of Katya? I loved her.
Yeah. Okay. So I enjoyed her character as well. I mean, I think it's kind of becoming fairly obvious at this point why I gave it 5 Grinches. But yeah, I felt like she was, although there were like chunks of time where she wasn't sort of around or present, the moments that she was around, she was really important to the main characters. And I really enjoyed that. But I would have liked to have known more from Katya's POV. That would be probably one of my few sort of little niggles. But I don't know, like, see, the thing that I found difficult with this character is that she wasn't written in a way that I expect people in her position to be written. But I don't know if that's because I haven't read a lot set in the Netherlands or whether I'm comparing to Downton Abbey too much.
Yes. Yeah.
Just some of the way that she spoke felt a little bit too familiar at times. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that one.
Yeah. I liked her. I thought she had this kind of unassuming strength where people thought she was this weak, and because she was in this position of being a relative and not as upper class as Michael, she was just kind of there. And I kind of like the way she would do like these powerful things and just kind of go on about her business and keep it quiet. And that she had the strength to pursue and have that relationship with Sarah and not Sarah, because 1887 in the Netherlands, that would not have been very welcomed and okay. So I appreciated that she was willing to, you know, face any consequence that may come for her love, and her relationship with Sarah. Even though part of it, yes, Sarah was sometimes consuming her, but that's, you know, that is all kind of wrapped up together in these kind of stories. Consumption, appetite of, you know, literal, but also sexual. So we'll move on now and talk about Michael. What can I say about Michael? I hate him. I don't really know what else to say about him. You know, there's so many examples in the book of why.
Despicable is probably the word that comes to mind for me for him.
Yes.
Truly disgusting. But I enjoyed hating him.
Oh, yes.
You know? Yes. So it wasn't the kind of hate that I felt like put me off. It sort of drew me in more, because I was like, someone's gonna have to give him his comeuppance at some point, you know.
I wanted Sarah, not Sarah, to eat him. I was like, please
eat this.
Yeah. Please eat this. Everything. Like, I wrote, like, some of my annotations are like, the more I read about this man, the more I hate him. And then I get further on, I'll be like, oh no, he is the absolute worst. And just some of the stuff he said, like when he keep mixing their names, Sarah caught him with the maids or whatever, and then he said, oh, you should be glad I'm doing this, because there are some things that a man needs that you shouldn't, you know, he shouldn't go to his wife for. He should just do it with these, you know, maids, you know, treating them like they were absolute dirt because they were not in the same class as he was. And just, I couldn't stand this man and the way he just did all the things he did. So when he got God in the end, I was like, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Because I was like, please, somebody take this dude out. All right. Stuart, like Katja, disturbing. Many viewed her as yes, because she was poor. Yes. And yes, that's another the content warning, because we don't get a lot of, you know, information about how it happened, but we definitely know that Katja was essayed by someone. And I also have experienced that. So without going into detail, and I also appreciated too with Katja the way that she handled that and was able to keep going, and the way that she was able to still pursue a relationship with someone, because all of that is you know, incredibly and especially difficult after having that experience. So I agree. I liked her a lot. Let's see. There's not much to say about Michael, but we hate him. Arthur.
No redeeming thing.
Kind of on Arthur, you know, the doctor's side at the beginning, but as it went on, I was like, no, he's one of those guys who says to you, I'm a nice guy. I'm a nice guy. See, you marry me, we'll take care
your
of
best interests.
Yes. He's the one that, you know, comes on all too, you know, friendly and like just always on your side, like you said. And he's against these, you know, he didn't like Michael because Michael was a terrible man, but like this, you know, same kind of man, just keeping it under the surface a bit more and not as blatantly disgusting as Michael.
No, but I feel like in some ways by the end I hated him more than I hated Michael, because I felt like with Michael, you knew who he was straight away. Like there was no hiding him at all. With what's his name again?
Arthur.
I feel like he's the kind of guy that tricks you, makes you feel comfortable, and then no, you're not safe. So I think the intention for him always is good and pure, but it isn't. Like, he is a product of his environment in the end, and not much more. And
I agree.
I just really, I think I hated him more by the end, to be honest, just for that reason. Because I think you end up feeling duped.
Yeah.
Because you root for him at certain points. And then realize that you were very wrong to be rooting.
And that's, that's really more dangerous than someone like you said, who's, blatantly you can tell, and they're clear far away from him. But like you said, Arthur's the one who can get you up close, and then you realize, peel back the layers, and he's just as bad as Michael.
Yeah, definitely.
And
he can do a lot more damage, I feel like.
Yes.
In the long term.
And then just briefly, I just want to say, Mrs. Van Dijk, Mrs. Van Dijk, the older woman that Lucy's a companion for. Just as far as class goes, because she's a widow, and that also falls into some of that lesser than in that society. She has to pay someone to be her companion. So I just wanted to briefly mention her. And then Magda, one of the servants.
Yeah.
She, to me, when we go back to the patriarchy and women, because women also, also participate in patriarchal oppression. And Magda was one of those, in my opinion, because she was doing the bidding of Michael and Arthur at the expense of the women. And I feel like Magda is one of those women who does that bidding of the patriarchy in the hopes that it's going to secure her some sort of status or position.
Yeah.
Like, she believes that she'll be able to kind of have some one up. Yeah. And I just briefly wanted to talk about her because I really did not like her.
No.
Hey, Nicole, thank you so much for popping on and hitting that like button. I appreciate you very, very much. So now we'll go to elements, themes, and symbolism. So definitely the Gothic setting. There were some passages I marked specifically, like the Gothic, setting is like perfect. I don't want to do too much of it, but I do want to read a few passages because it just evokes that perfect Gothic setting. So first of all, that description of Zwartwater, which means black water. The house had been built on soft ground, unsuited for stone so heavy, which made the whole structure sag to one side. This, in combination with the west wing, which had been built much more recently in a different style, gave the house the appearance of having suffered a stroke. There was beauty in it still, the way imperfect things can be beautiful, but it was a beauty of a dark and fading kind. And that's so very Gothic, that idea of opulence and decadence. And then you've got that eventual decay. And I was like, brilliantly done. And then just one more quote that I want to talk about. The carriage ride in the fog. I was like, I am just right there. I am right there. And perfect Gothic at night. They took the carriage into town. Overnight, a thick fog had crept over the land. It pressed heavily against the windows, swallowing both light and sound. It tasted sour and coated everything with a thin layer of moisture. I just love that. Every sense, too. It's not just what you're seeing, the fog, but the taste and the feel on the skin. And that is just a hallmark of good writing, when the writer can take all of your senses and put you right there.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more.
then the next thing, I know we're kind of switching, but I'm like checking my time. I'm like, oh Lord, it's like 12:45. Then we let me see, where am I? Okay. So we have that vampirism, it's not like vampire like typically. Like I was
Yeah.
wondering at the beginning if Sarah, not Sarah, was going to bite people and then we were going to have a bunch of, vampires. But I like this fresh take. It's something that's different. And it's, mentioned revenant and changeling sometimes too, which I love the changeling folklore from, Celtic regions, and the idea of someone being a changeling, which I say I love it, but it's really horrible because people really thought, that their spouses or children were changelings, and they did horrible things to them, like we found out happened to that bog body. But I like the way that it wasn't just this on the surface kind of vampire story. Any other thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think the first time I read this, I went into it looking for the vampirism in it. And that was one aspect that I was a little bit disappointed in, because I was looking at it, I was going in from a traditional vampire sort of story aspect. This time reading it, I think I had that separation from that idea, and I could really appreciate it for more of the concept of vampirism rather than it being an actual, I'm going to go around biting people and sucking their blood kind of situation. I liked the symbolism of that when she's exploring the bog body and she gets caught by the tooth on her hand, that was a really sort of epic moment for me, because that was the turning point into the real sort of vampire aspects of the story. But then by the end, that morphed more into, it felt like she was almost like possessed by a vampire like being, I guess. I don't know, it's kind of what I think that's what I like about it, is that there's it reminds you of things like vampires and sort of like fae sort of stuff and things like that, but it lets you sort of kind of morph things together a little bit more, and almost come up with your own new kind of monster-esque thing. I guess I don't know how to explain that.
No, I agree. I like it too because it did, I love vampires. They are some of my favorite, characters or elements of novels, but I like this take on it because I feel like so many people do vampires, but Johanna van Veen did something different with it.
It's not just about the blood, it's about everything about the human, like the soul, the physical nature of humans, and it encompasses everything, which I think actually quite a lot of more modern vampire stories don't really sort of delve into that deeper layer of the concept,
yes. Let's see what clever take on vampires. Isabel said, "Me too, Hermie. Something that kept me from the 5-star would went in wishing and wanting vampirism." Yeah, that almost makes me think about should we reread it, and not expect that maybe. I also want to talk a little bit about sisterhood. I can identify with the part where Lucy talks about destroying anyone who dared to hurt her sister. Like her claws will come out and she will fight them, because I have a younger sister and I feel the same way. We're 4 years apart. So growing up, of course, we had our disagreements and our sibling fights, but if anybody was to say anything about her, I will take them out, take them down. Don't mess with my sister. And I appreciated that relationship, even though there was that struggle for Lucy with trying to figure out if Sarah and not Sarah were the same, which we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But I just I appreciated that.
Same.
And let's see. Not Sarah, like a host or parasite. Yes. Because there was the mention too of a tick, right? And they kept talking about a tick, like the parasite taking the blood. So yeah, I thought about that too. Let's see. And doubles, I won't talk too much about that. That is like a big part of the Gothic too, doubles. And of course, we have the twins. But something that did stand out to me was that analogy of the worm when Sarah and Lucy were little. And Sarah cut that worm in half, and the side that Sarah had still kept going and wiggling around, and the side that Lucy had just died. And Lucy had that thought, am I just, a part of my sister? Am I nothing without her? Do I die without her existence? And I felt like that struggle with her own identity was important.
Yeah, that's true actually. Yeah, like I think I've focused very much on what's at what point we stop being us, but there is that struggle throughout with Lucy, that she's like not sure of her own identity. I do definitely need to reread it for a third time. Every time. This is why it's 5, because I will happily reread again.
Yes.
That usually dictates my rating, if I feel like, oh, I want to read that again.
Yes, I love a novel that you find something fresh with, every time.
Yeah.
Then we have patriarchy. I feel like we talked about the patriarchy a lot with Michael, but it is like an overarching theme of this whole book between Michael, Arthur, the way that the women sometimes treat each other. The way that Michael, one of the things he said that I had to write down that I just, one of the many, many things he said that made me so angry. He said, a desire to rule isn't normal in a woman. And I'm not saying that anybody should really say, I want to rule over these people. But Michael's intention is saying that it's only for the man to be the head of a household, or only for the man to be, out there doing scientific or political or any other sort of outside the home things, and the desire not being, normal to rule in a woman. I just want to, but I don't have to, because Lucy took care of it.
Lucy led the way.
Yeah.
Rather than ruled the way.
Yes.
Which is, to me, a clear distinction between patriarchy and not patriarchy, I guess. Going along with the not Sarah thing.
Yes.
But yeah, like there is this, like, the males want to rule in this.
Yes.
Whereas the females want to lead.
Right.
It feels like quite a clear distinction.
Yes.
Yes.
Or even, have rights over their own bodies. Big topics.
How dare they want autonomy?
Exactly. You can't have that.
No.
We know what's best. There was that whole, again, that goes back to Arthur too, that whole, I know what's best. And, you're just a hysterical woman. And there were even, I don't know if it's Michael or Arthur, probably both of them said things along those lines to Lucy. You're just acting hysterical. That's just the way a woman reacts to this. That's why you can't handle it. Let the men handle it. Then a little bit, like we said, about the uncanny and the unknown when you have, is Sarah and not Sarah. There's, again, I have to go with the quote on page 226 about the distinction between Sarah and not Sarah and what makes us human. If not Sarah had all of Sarah's emotions and memories, what was a person if not the sum of all they had ever thought and felt and lived through? And then in the back of the book, too, there are reading guide questions. And the one question I really want to talk about is, not Sarah insists that as the keeper of Sarah's memories, she is Sarah. Do you agree? And if not, how else would you define her? So what constitutes a person? What makes a person a person?
Ah!
Right. Because if you have somebody's memories and experiences, are you that person? I mean, I feel like no, kind of. I mean, you might have all that, but it also like it to bring it into current times too. The idea of AI, if something has experiences or thoughts and memories fed to it by somebody else, it doesn't make them that person. So I say, if I'm thinking of it in that terms, then not Sarah is not Sarah. She's not. But she's the closest thing, and I think this is why Lucy defends her. She's the closest thing Lucy has to Sarah.
Yeah.
And it's enough, it's enough for Lucy to see her still as a sister.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like it would be interesting to have another story later to see if that is the potential grief of losing Sarah that's keeping her on not Sarah's side, and how that progresses later on. I don't know. And at what point, like, I think, like, I 100% agree that she's not Sarah anymore. But is she no longer human? I don't know.
Right.
And at what point was it no longer Sarah? Because there's this whole process. And I'm just, it'll just keep going around and round and round in my head until.
That's the way I am. I can't land it. It's something to keep pondering. But it also, as we were talking, I just kind of thought about, the way that Sarah held on to her daughter, Lucille, after she died. Is this just another way that Lucy is holding on to something that's gone in whatever way she can? So that kind of parallel between those two situations. It does keep, and this spirit, right, or this body that was in the bog, she was human, right? We found out her story. Her husband thought, she was a changeling. She was acting different, but that's because the entity, whatever is made Sarah, not Sarah, made this woman, not this woman. But how far back does this thing go, and does it not deserve to live? What is it? Like you said,
truly evil. Like, oh my gosh, like, and with that in mind, what makes it evil, and what, like, oh no, sorry, I could just
I know
there's more tangents I could fall into with that one.
I know. I think we'll be pondering that one for a while. The treatment of the mentally ill. I did want to talk just briefly about women, especially at this time period, being institutionalized for unnatural appetites, which could mean trying to work outside the home, trying to have relationships outside of, the stereotypical marriage relationships, women not agreeing to everything their husband said, women actually wanting to have sex, women not wanting to have sex, just multitude of things. But I did want to talk about, there was a law that was passed or put forth. I'm trying to find my notes on that very briefly. This 1841 national law that was introduced in the Netherlands that required the state governments to provide adequate health care for the mentally ill. And progressive reforms were passed, but there were still a lot of challenges that were faced in the practicality of overcrowding, proper training. So there was an effort in 1841 to better those institutions, but it was still, kind of hit and miss. But one of the important parts that I did just want to mention is the Nuremberg Asylum. A lot of pre-existing asylums at this time, they just tried to update to kind of fit these reforms. But Nuremberg was actually a new institution that was opened up to try to start fresh and give people proper treatment. And I got this information from a website titled the Bethlehem Museum of the Mind, because when I was reading, I was also curious to see what the overall mental health care system was like at this time. So again, it depended, on where you went. And I don't feel like where Arthur and Michael planned to send Not Sarah was going to be one of those institutions that had passed those reforms.
No.
I think they were, if they were going to send her anywhere, which it just kind of seemed like to me, they were just going to leave her there and just, let her pass on away.
Yeah.
Briefly, with the symbolism with blood, of course, blood can represent life, death. I did want to make a mention, and this reminded me of Dracula, when they are giving transfusions to Not Sarah. They say the medical literature says you have to give the blood of a healthy man. And the same thing happens in Dracula to Lucy. I'm pretty sure there's, a reason why our main character here is named Lucy. So Lucy is given the blood of her fiance, the doctor, these other guys who are interested in her, but it all has to be this blood of a healthy man. So again, I thought, there we go, with your, not only the patriarchal society, but also a white European man too, of course, or, in the case of Quincy in Dracula, American, but you got to have that would have been their mindset there. And the bog, I did want to talk about it preserving the horrors of the past that those in power tried to hide, because when Lucy is passing through the bog, and I just want to read a little bit about that, because I want, to kind of talk about why I started thinking about the bog as being this representation of the Gothic, and the way that the Gothic, represents that, which is the past coming back to haunt the present. I just felt like, again, she did such a beautiful job talking about this. Let me just get right here. They could be the ghost of those unfortunates who have drowned in the bog. And then she talks about the sun had thoroughly set, but she had the light of the stars and the moon to guide her. It was a thin, pale light, painting everything around her in hues of gray and blue. Thin tendrils of mist crept up from the earth and nipped at her ankles. It was said that they heralded the arrival of the Wittewiven, I don't know if I'm saying this right, white women who came out at night from the burial mounds that were everywhere on the Dutch heath, hungry for gold, hungry for souls. They were the restless ghosts of witches or fairies wishing to lure people off the straight and narrow, or perhaps something else altogether. And then Lucy feels this woman, or sees these bodies, and she feels like they're looking at her. And to me, that just felt like, past atrocities calling out to be recognized. Kind of made me think at that point a little bit of The Reformatory by Tanana Reed Duke. I don't want to spoil that book for anybody who hasn't read it, but it's got a, it's a completely different type of book, but there's something similar in the aspect of using the supernatural to represent the very real atrocities of the past, and the way that those in power will try to bury those, rewrite history, cover stuff up, all very real, and especially pertinent right now. The way that the truth will come out. The blood of the oppressed, the blood of the terrorized, murdered, victimized, it calls out to be recognized, and I feel like it's going to be. And I appreciated that aspect of this book, the way that the past was, calling out to Lucy, and she was attentive to it. Any other thoughts about the bog?
Just really that I love when a book includes a bog. I'm genuinely terrified of them as a general rule, and I really love the use of bogs in the way that they're used, especially in Gothic sort of settings. I think they pair really well with the Gothic setting generally. But yeah, I'm so terrified of them.
I like the woods, and I like being out. Of course, I'm here in the United States of America, so some of that I can't get quite as much, as if I were able to go to the Netherlands or to the UK. The Will o' the Wisps and all those, lovely stories from the Gothic and Romantic. But I just loved that part with the bog. Now let's see. Were there any quotes that really stood out to you? I have a few, but I'm just going to do one for time's sake. And this is something that Mrs. Van Dijk says to Lucy. Death is a kind of mutilation. A piece of you died as surely as your sister did. And that just hit me, because I'm dealing with grief right now. My mom is physically here, but no other, mentally, emotionally, physically is all it is. And it's not even, she can't walk or do stuff like that. So it's like this slow death that I'm watching happen. And it feels like every day something else for me is being torn apart as I see that happening to her. So that felt very close to my heart.
Yeah. I thought about that a lot when I was reading as well, because my nan passed away from Parkinson's a couple of years ago, and it was a similar sort of situation in terms of that. I mean, in some ways it moved quite quickly with my nan, because she was diagnosed and then within 4 years she was gone, which we were told when she was diagnosed that Parkinson's, out of all of the different sort of ailments that we can get as we get older, is one of the slower moving ones. And she thought that she was actually kind of relieved, because she thought she was going to keep her sense about her, and of course that didn't happen. And unfortunately my mum also passed away before my nan did, and there was this because of this, the way it affects the brain, I would go in, I look very much like my mum, and she would think I was my mum. And it was a choice to tell her over again and go through that initial thing of, no, she's not here anymore, or just play along with it. And either option was hard. So I felt really that came up in my mind a lot when I was in the parts where Lucy is thinking about what is she without her sister, and things like that, because of that sort of, I guess, like, I in some ways live my life for my mum in some ways now, because I look so much like her, and anyone that knew us both, I think they forget that I'm not her. But yeah, it really did connect. And I wondered if that had a similar effect for you at the time. I just didn't get round to actually asking you that till now.
It did. Thank you for sharing your heart, Hermie. That was Hermie, but Hermie. That was beautiful. And thank you so much for that. I think, like you said, it hit me on that deeper level like that too.
Yeah.
It definitely did. Any final thoughts? I just have to say, I hadn't talked about it yet, but some eye trauma get me every time. We have Sarah stabbing herself in the eye. Then we have,
oh my gosh, I forgot about that bit.
I was like, I know she's about to do it. She's about to do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And then, of course,
I wiped that one out of my memory because it is so visceral in the moment. Like,
it's like the gothic setting, like you talked about in your synopsis, the slowly building, just tension, dread, eeriness, uncanniness, and then the body horror. We got fingers bitten off, we got eyes, Michael's eye, we got, the eyes, which I was like, I wouldn't even get, eye stuff icks me out, but then I was just like, didn't even care. So that's the really final thought I had about anything with the eye trauma.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like, I think I wiped that one twice because I
Now I
watched
just
it
put it back in your brain.
I'll probably
record it on
the
YouTube forever.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of the same with the eye stuff. Like, I don't like it, but I kind of love it at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I guess my final thought would be that it really does, like, the majority of it is this slow burn gothic vibe, but then it does have that little bit of body horror dotted around, which kind of, I feel like, makes it a book that is probably going to be liked to some degree by a lot of people that read horror.
Yes.
Or even maybe people that are new to horror, like me.
You'd never know it. You seem like you've just been a horror pro. Let's see. Stuart said he's not squeamish, deeply disturbed what Sarah did to her eye. Yes. When it talked about the crustiness and the stuff, I was like, oh, no.
So I don't get squeamish that easily either. Like, but that one definitely got me. Totally agree.
Sarah was definitely underestimated. Yeah. Yes.
100%.
That's what happens. You don't underestimate a woman. You see what happens to you.
Exactly.
And just briefly, some read alikes and watch alikes. I know there are probably a lot of watch alikes, but the first one that I thought about is Ginger Snaps, which is a Canadian movie that I feel like doesn't get the attention it deserves. But as far as, there's no like vampires in it, there is a supernatural type creature element. But Ginger Snaps is another story about how far a sister will go to take care of a sister, prove her love to a sister, defend a sister. So I definitely recommend Ginger Snaps. Content warnings for a few different things there for sure. And then I'm late to the game, and I'm on like episode 3 of season 2. But a couple of weeks ago, I started watching Penny Dreadful. if you like the gothic and you like some body horror and the past coming back to haunt the present, supernatural creatures, best friends who, someone who has a best friend who tries to do whatever she can to save her. Other characters trying to save each other. If you like that, Penny Dreadful, I'm obsessed. Yeah. If you're a fan of the gothic, you're going to get nods of the picture of Dorian Gray, Dracula, Frankenstein, Carmilla. I mean, and you'll be like, you'll just be having a blast. Then some read-alikes. A couple of these I feel like are kind of cliche. Carmilla by Sheridan Le Fanu, Dracula by Bram Stoker. I probably didn't even have to say that. Hungerstone by Kat Dunn, which is one of my favorite novels of 2025. A fresh take on Carmilla. And let me just say, if you read Carmilla and you wanted more between Carmilla and Laura, then you will probably like Hungerstone. And then House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson, which is one of my favorite books. I think one of my favorites of 2023, but gothic, vampire adjacent, a wonderful book. Anybody, Hermie, did you think of anything that?
To be honest, the main ones that I thought of were same as you, Carmilla and Hungerstone. But I think there's probably more. I just can't quite put my finger on it. I feel like this is quite a unique take on things, but you're going to get vibes from lots of different other places. That was not even a sentence. Hopefully you got roughly what I was trying to get out there.
I got it. And also, like, if you have not yet read My Darling Dreadful Thing by Johanna van Veen and you liked Blood on Her Tongue, I think you'll like My Darling Dreadful Thing. So any other comments before we get into some future channel plans? I think Hermie gave us quite a bit of your plans at the beginning. Is there anything else you want to share about your channel upcoming before we go?
Yeah, I didn't mention before, I have like a thing that I post. It started last year because last year was my first year on YouTube, and I'm going to be doing it again. It's Book a Nanny. It's like Hootenanny but with books. So, and there I'm just doing as much pre-filming and things as I can now for that. So it'll be 7 videos in 7 days. One of the videos will be a live of me and Matt playing my TBR game that I haven't played in a little while actually, but if you are a subscriber, you'll be able to you don't even have to be a subscriber. You can just go to my channel and see my I've just got the word Book a Nanny in my head. What is my TBR game called? It's like Booktionary.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know.
Oh my god! How can I forget that? We will be playing Booktionary live on one of the days as well, which is super fun. People can join in with that if they want to. But yeah, and there'll be reading sprints and all sorts happening. So, and that's the week from Christmas Day up until New Year's Eve, because I feel like everything goes a little bit dead in between Christmas and New Year's. And that's the bit that I like the most. So I figured, why not enjoy that?
I love it. That sounds like so much fun. I know if most of you are probably subscribed to Hermie already, but if not, you need to get over there and do that, because this sounds like stuff you don't want to miss. Thank you so much for telling us all this exciting news, Hermie. I'm excited.
I think because I'm just in the planning zone right now, I'm really like excited. I've got some book clubs being launched and all sorts happening. So yeah.
Yay. 2026, finishing out 2025 on this fun and exciting note, kicking off 2026 with this energy. I'm excited too. You have me excited. So my channel, like I said, I know I've not been filming as many videos, but I do have some upcoming videos planned. I will be doing my 2026 book club announcement in probably, I'm hoping this week, if not this week, next week. But I'll be talking about what my book club selections for the Literary Love Book Club will be for 2026. I will also be continuing with my Poetry Thursday series, but I'm renaming it. Lee from Dark Roots Creations, another one of the Saturday Morning Momentum crew. I want to give her a shout out. Follow her channel if you haven't. But she gave me a suggestion for maybe using a different title for my Poetry Thursdays that might draw attention. So it will now be called For People Who Don't Like Poetry, because I'm going to hopefully convince you to like poetry. So again, shout out to Lee, her channel Dark Roots Creations, for that idea. And in January, you can look for book club selection. I'll be pairing with another person for her book club, and Kat from Kat's Novel Adventures. She does her Nevermore in January, where it's a week of Edgar Allan Poe. I typically join her, and I will be doing so again this year. And then I will be also, and I'm trying to see if I have the note here. I'll be talking about it on my channel. I don't have the note, but there's an International Gothic Society, like big Gothic reading event happening in January. So I would like to participate in that. So look for a whole lot of Gothic coming from me in January, which you probably think there's always a lot of Gothic coming from you, but even more in January. So I just feel like January is perfect. You got the cold, it's winter, it's Gothic. Also in January, I will be doing another rendition of my Polar Gothic vlog. Last year, I did The Terror and Dark Matter by Michelle Paver, and watched the Terror series and watched The Thing, which I watch every year anyway. But this January, I'm going to be reading All the White Spaces by Allie Wilkes. And I'm not sure what else, but definitely that book and Polar Gothic. So lots of Gothic in January.
I'm really excited for what you've got coming up as well then.
And Liz loves that idea. I think probably she was talking about maybe you, Hermie, maybe me, maybe both of us. Thank you, Liz. Thank you so much.
I'm sure Liz enjoys.
Any other thoughts before we go? I have kept y'all a little bit long. I know Hermie has something coming up real quick. So
yeah, we've got movie night in Hermieville next. So.
Yeah, so y'all check out Hermie on Discord if you haven't yet, and get on that movie night.
Yeah, I am at the moment. My Discord's a little bit of a mess. It needs to tidy up, but I'm actually making a new Discord because I needed to make so many changes that it was just easier to work on that separately, and then we'll move over. But we're having the movie nights and watch alongs, and everything's still happening.
So much fun. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you for being here. Thank you for commenting and sharing your thoughts. Thank you, Liz. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Thank you, Eleanor. So happy you like the book and the discussion. All right. Well, again, thank you to everybody who showed up today. Thank you, Hermie, for agreeing to co-host. And thank you to everyone watching the replay. Have a wonderful rest of your day or night, and we will see you again soon. Bye.